Hey, and welcome everyone. It's so nice to have you joining me today. For the next 15 to 20 minutes, we're going to focus on one thing that can make your life so much easier and certain tasks unnecessary. So what am I actually talking about? Well, it's one of these clear things that happens in our life. You see, we're busy every single day, and we get so busy that we get to the end of the day, and when we do this reflection, we've made very little progress. And then we get into that rut where we think, well, we need to push even harder. Well, I can safely say that for many people, when they are working harder and harder, the progress that they're making is there, but it could be a lot more. You see, activity, it definitely creates motion. Things start to move forward. But if you want true momentum, what you need to do is you need to prioritize on the activities that's going to get you closer. So let me ask you this question, and I really want you to internalize this. What daily tasks have you done this week or even today that has produced the greatest impact and helped you to move closer to your desired goals? And second part of the question, what has just been creating noise and tiring you out? So what are those tasks that you've been doing that gives you high levels of impact and moves you closer to your goals? And what activities has just become noise and it's pulling you back and slowing you down? You see, this is something that we talk about in the one thing. We need to make sure that you find the lead domino. Now, what is the lead domino? Well, think of it like this. If you go and line up a whole lot of dominoes and you knock over the first one, it's actually quite fun. You'll see that it'll knock down all of those particular dominoes. And you can actually go out and Google the Weiger production company. Back many years, they actually broke the Guinness Book of Records to get over 5.5 million dominoes. So what is it? How do we find that lead domino? It's a question that we help our clients often. You see, the first thing that I need to share with you is extraordinary success is not simultaneous. It's actually sequential. It is, in fact, just like those dominoes. When you can find that lead domino and knock it over, ultimately what it does, it'll actually knock down the next task. And that will in turn knock down the next task. And that's why we'll ask you that question. What's the one thing that you can do such that by doing it, everything becomes easier because you knock that first domino down and the second goes and the third goes, or alternatively, unnecessary. In other words, when domino 3 falls, it takes domino 4 without you even knowing. You don't have to put any effort into it. That is how you create a perpetual line of success and extraordinary results. But how do we do that? How do we actually go down to break down our daily tasks of what we're doing? We get overwhelmed with everything. And how do we break it down so that we can find that lead domino? Well, that's exactly what I want to share with you today. I'm going to share with you 3 very simple tips that you can actually implement, well, right after this particular session. And each one of them does not require high level of thinking and time. In fact, you could probably even just do it on a simple piece of paper. So what's the first one? Well, the first one is actually what we refer to as moving away from the traditional to-do lists and moving to a more successful success list. So let me give this down to you. Let me break it down so that you can understand the difference between the two. You see, a to-do list is a list of everything that you need to do in the day. And it's going to include items that's been put on by other people. So when you review these to-do lists, there's items on there that you could do them. And there's also items that, you should do them. And it's when you start looking at this list and breaking it down into 2 columns items that you could or maybe don't need to do, and items that you should be doing. And the big question that underlines that is when you look at those items on your to-do list, what brings you closer to achieving your desired outcomes and goals? Because those are the items that you should be doing. So the simple step, once you've seen your to-do list and you've crossed out all of the could-dos and you've highlighted the should-do items, just take those should-do items and move them onto its own success list page. Because these are the items that you should be doing in order for you to achieve your goals. Then, now what we need to do is we need to put them into an order of priority. Going back to those dominoes, you could randomly pick up the dominoes and put them into line. But if you want to be like the Wider production company and knock over the dominoes, that actually creates an amazing shape, a design that gets people going, wow, that's amazing. What we'll have to do is take that success list and start putting it into order of priority. And it's so simple. If I could only do one of them today, only one, which one would I do? And you'll go through that success list. What you will find is some of them, I could actually do that later in the afternoon. Maybe I could actually do that tomorrow. But there's going to be some of those items where, you know what? I need to do those now. Because when I do those now, I know that the momentum to go towards my goals is going to be escalated, and it's actually going to start speeding up the process. So we start with that to-do list. We extract the should-do items, and then we go through and we put them into order of priority. If I could only do one, which one would it be? And then it's simple. Once I've done that one, you earn the right to do a second. So what would that be? What would be that second item that you're actually wanting? You see, finding your lead domino is a simple process. You already know the activities. All you need to do is get that to-do list, extract the should-dos, put them into order of priority, and then guess what? You just go ahead and do it in that order of priority. You see, what you've created is a line that is sequential. You've created a line just like dominoes. So that's the first tip that I wanted to share. It's moving from a traditional to-do list to a success list. Now, that's something that you could do. That's very, very easy. The second, and this is where coaching a number of my clients, we've come to see that we set up our goals, but we set up our goals as big goals. And we like big goals because big goals drives us. We don't want to achieve little goals because it only requires small actions to achieve it. And then once we tick it off, we sit in there going, so what's next? We want these big goals. But sometimes these big goals, they create a little bit of fear in us. Fear where we go, now we don't even know where to start. It is so big that we think that we have to do such big activities in order to achieve it. No, what we actually do is we create these big goals. We think big, but then we go small. We take that big goal and we start to reverse engineer it. Well, what needs to happen in order to achieve that goal? We write down those items. Then we look at those items and we say, even they are quite big. Those are what we typically refer to as milestones. What can we do with those milestones? How can we break that activity down even smaller? And see, actually what we're doing is we're actually taking that big goal and we're starting to break it down into small activities. Now we continue this process of going smaller and smaller. And remember, it's actions, activities that you can do. We're going to go so small that you'll look at it and you'll think, how can that get me to achieving that goal? It's going to feel like it's not really an activity. But here's the truth. That becomes a lead domino. You see, once you've got all of these activities, and if you use tip number 1, going from a to-do list to a success list, order of priority, and now you've got all these different activities, well, now you know the very first one to actually do. And the great thing with it is, and don't share this out too loud, it's easy. It's something that you can do. You've broken it down where you feel very comfortable in doing it. So once you do that, guess what? It will knock down the next activity, or it will set you up to make the next activity easier. And as you start going through this process, hitting off those small little actions, they slowly become bigger and bigger. But you're geared for it. You're prepared for it. And then when you look up, suddenly that first milestone that felt a little bit awkward, you've achieved it. And you're already heading to maybe the second and third milestone. And that big goal, you actually start looking at it and thinking, you know what? I should have made it bigger. I should have really made it bigger. So the second tip to share with you is take those big goals and break them down into small actions that it just feels like cheating when you actually do it. So that's the second tip. And the third one, and this is something that is so important. You've gone through this process of breaking it down to these small actions. You're feeling excited about it. You've got them into an order that you know where to start and what's going to come next. The third tip is you've got to commit to consistency over intensity. You see, what can happen is we look at lots of these little actions and we think, well, let's knock them all down at the same time. So you start to multitask. You start to do a little bit here, a little bit there, and you start jumping all over. But what you're actually doing is you're taking all of these little tasks, you're grouping them together, and guess what that makes? It starts making a big, complicated task. You see, you're increasing the intensity of it. And then you find that you're just spinning your wheels trying to complete it, but it's incomplete. What you need to commit to is consistency. Work with one at a time. Knock it out. If it takes you 10 minutes, that's all you focus on. If it takes you an hour, that's all you focus on. Just get that one activity completed, and then you earn the right to go on to the second. But you've got to remain consistent. You've got to go in its sequence as you're going through. When you start doing this and you create this consistency, one, you're going to feel a lot more relaxed in your day because the activities are not overwhelming. But two, which is even more important, it's going to start creating a habit. Because they are so small, because they are not something that's going to overwhelm you, you're going to be able to knock these down one at a time until you've actually got an amazing little picture in front of you, just like the Wider production company did. So make sure that you have this consistency to do it every single day. And we within the One Thing, we have what we call the 66-day challenge. Now, the 66-day challenge is straightforward and simple. It's actually shown that after 66 days, on average, it's not exactly 66 days. Sometimes it's a bit shorter, sometimes a bit longer. It depends on the activity. But when you are doing small activities and you do them for 66 days in a row, suddenly it starts becoming autonomous. You start feeling like this habit is just part of you. It's like waking up in the morning, breathing. It just happens naturally. So that's the third. Keep that commitment to being consistent and doing it for 66 days. Because I can assure you, you're going to be knocking off those milestones. You're going to be getting closer to that particular big goal that you're going to go, is that all it took to actually achieve it? So those are my 3 tips. To recap for you, the first one, move from a to-do list to a success list. That to-do list is where you start getting busy. It's where you're creating more motion, not momentum. The success list, it creates motion, but it creates momentum for you to start moving forward. Plus, you start working less because you focused on what's needed to be done. The second is when you do have those big goals, reverse engineer, break them down into smaller milestones, those smaller milestones into smaller activities so that you can actually identify the activity that actually feels like cheating to get you forward. And the third, remain consistent. You've got to push yourself 66 days. And that's why we want them so small that it takes you just maybe a short period of time to have them completed. Once it's completed and you move on to the next, that habit starts to grow on you. And it just becomes a momentum that pushes you forward at such a rapid pace that once you've gone through a quarter, you'll reflect back and go, I cannot believe where I am. It is as simple as that. You see, to find your lead domino, it's not something that's crazy. It's something that is actually very straightforward. And you can do it. I know that you can actually do it. So I'm going to say that question again. What is that daily task that is actually giving you the greatest impact in the day? And which one simply is creating noise and pushing you back? You see, you can actually go through life being in control. And that's ultimately what you want. You want to be the one that achieves all the goals that you actually set out. To close with a quote, success is built sequentially. It's one thing at a time, over time. That's what you need to do. Now, if you enjoyed this particular podcast, there are many more of them. Just go to my website, stuarthyslop.com/podcast, and there you can see a number of episodes that I've completed, just like this one. So before we go, I want you to pick one thing from today, and I want you to schedule it. I want you to put it into your calendar. I want you to sit down now and actually schedule it. Is it that to-do list to a success list? Is it that big goal that you want to break down? Or is it just creating some form of tracker so that you know when you know what that activity is, start doing it for 66 days? Remember, learning creates awareness, but it's actions that takes results. I want to see you in the next session. Cheers for now.
You've been listening to The One Thing Guy. Remember, when you focus on what matters most, everything changes. See you next time.